Okay, well, I'm actually answering this question as I've been making a habit of lately of taking a segment of a show and putting 5-10 minutes of the show in video on YouTube. So you're looking at this on YouTube or you're hearing it on the air, depending on which way you've come across it first. So those of you on YouTube, I've been asked during the last video, is this microphone what you're hearing? The answer is no. This is my audio microphone that you're hearing here right now. The audience on the podcast just heard tap, tap, tap on the mic and you didn't. This is done with my iPhone. It's not the greatest quality in the world, but it's good enough. And what we're covering today is a question that just came in from an audience member that I'll restate since you were unable to hear it. And that was basically, when we look at the hubbub now about trying to get the Feinstein firearms law through, and I just did a video on that, a segment on that, so I'm not going to go through why I don't think it has a prayer of passing in its current form, and I don't even think it'll be that bill that ends up getting pushed forward into the House, because the House would nuke that thing in a millisecond. They wouldn't even begin to negotiate on it. They would just say, okay, fine, let's have a vote. No. And the no's are going to have it in the current condition of the House. So you can go back and listen to what I really think is going on and how I think it's just kind of basically a false flag. We'll put up this onerous legislation so we can put up compromise legislation, looks reasonable, and I don't want to restate that. But the question is, with that going on, and what chances are of getting some really restrictive firearm legislation passed? What will it do? And is all the panic buying of ARs, AKs, and other weapons that are on this list justified in any way? Are people overreacting? And I'll tell you that, honestly, I don't really know. I don't really know the answer to this one because I think it's actually very possible that they'll get some pretty restrictive stuff done, though I'm not sure what and how much. A wholesale ban of all magazine-using weapons, anything that uses an external magazine, not going to happen. It's not going to happen. A restriction back to 10-round magazines, military and law enforcement marked, possibly. A wholesale ban of ARs and AKs. I wish I could tell you I think that it's not going to happen. It could. It depends on how many of the people in the House of Representatives, and the Senate for that matter, have no spine, even though they've said they support our rights to keep and bear arms. And we need to keep the pressure on them. But right now with this panic buying, am I going to run out and spend $2,400 on a $1,000 AR? The answer is no. Of course, I own some ARs. Am I going to do it with an AK? No, but of course I, have some of those too. So if I didn't own any, would I see this as possibly a last chance to buy them? Maybe. Maybe. And if it was really important to me to have one, I might go ahead and do it if I had the money and I didn't have to go into a bad way to do it. But I would be really careful on making that decision. But I'm also a big person that believes in solutions, and just like with my investments, I like to be buying what other people are not buying when they're not buying it, because that's usually a smart thing to do. My concern with this legislation is if they do manage to ram this pig through and get the detachable magazine provision in there, and they do it in such a way that maybe weapons like the Remington 750 or 7400 or the 740 that preceded the 7400, which are completely, right now, even in their legislation, those are not defined as assault weapons. They're, even the gun grabber's mind, that's a sporting weapon, because frankly, most gun grabbers don't know anything about guns. That's a big problem that we have there. They say stupid stuff like the one legislator that said, no one needs a Glock 19, no one needs a gun that can fire 19 times. He doesn't even know what the gun is. He's making stupid statements like that. The original assault weapons ban was about the way the guns looked, not what they did. There's some of that still going on with this new, much stricter legislation that they're proposing. So I am going to go to every gun show I can between now and whenever this thing gets hammered out. And what I'm going to be looking for are centerfire caliber rifles that are semi-automatic, that are truly sporting guns used that can be had for a song right now. You can find used 7400s, used 740, which is the older model, used 750 Remingtons. Get new ones. You can go out and buy them like crazy. You can get 10-round magazines for them. Yeah, I know it's not your 30-round banana clip for your AR. Yeah, I'm not saying that it's okay that they do this. Here's what I'm saying from a solutions-oriented mindset and a firearms investment mindset. If you don't chase the golden AR-AK right now, because you have some, and you're not going to buy more just to have more, and it's hard to find the magazines, and when you can, they're going to be overpriced, so you only buy when you can, where you can. And you say, I have a gun budget, and I want to continue to grow my gun collection, and I want to do it smartly. If they get this legislation passed, and if they actually manage to pull off banning ARs and AKs, and if things like the 7400 or the 750 and any other civilian looking, because that's what it really is. Again, I don't want anybody to think I'm supporting anything to do with this freaking firearms legislation. This is what I just said in the segment you guys that are not on YouTube didn't hear. We have over 22,000 gun laws in America. We do not need any more. I'm saying, let's say they manage to get this past us and do it, and let's say they ban things like the Kel-Tec Sub 2K, which I own, the AR-15, which I own, etc., the Hi-Point 995, which I own, right? They managed to ban those. Since I own them, I'm not going out and buying them. Where are people going to move when they want to buy a new gun that's still allowed if all of that stuff is banned or becomes like Class 3 and you have to pay a tax stamp, there's no new manufacturer, people hold on to them more, the price inflates? They're going to go to the closest civilian counterparts that they can find. And that will be things like the Remington 7400. That's what it'll be. It's a sporting weapon. It looks like a sporting weapon. The gun grabbers aren't scared of it because, frankly, they don't know a damn thing about guns. And what that will do is that used market that's sitting there right now, that's dirt cheap, right? Especially if they're a little pitted, a little rusted, the stock's a little cracked, but they're a good functioning gun, that will drive that price up. So at that point, either I've picked a bunch of them up at a song, and I can maybe sell some of them at a profit to acquire some things that now cost more because of things like a registration or something like that. Or maybe, you know, when magazines come back down and I go, wow, maybe I sell one or two of those and now invest in it. Or maybe I just keep them because they're good guns. And any other model you can think of like that. And I've been out of that mindset for so long. When I buy a hunting rifle, I don't really look at semi-autos for hunting because I have everything I need that's semi-auto, and because I hunt in states that don't allow semi-autos for hunting big game at times. So when I buy a new hunting rifle, I want to be able to take it anywhere I want to go. So I kind of like the classic guns, like the Marlin 1895 Marlin and 44 Magnum. That's one of my go-to guns. So I don't know exactly a lot of other models that fit this other than a Remington because I'm very familiar with it and I've always liked it. But you guys, I'd love to hear from you in the comments, either on the show, on the blog, or YouTube as well. What are some other models like that aren't on this ban list, that don't fit the ban, even the blanket ban? And I know that people are like, well, Jack, you're going to ruin the market. Everybody's going to go out and do it. You know, I have a big reach. It's not that huge. It's not that huge a reach. And I think that most of the people that are freaking out and buying right now are focused on what the media and the politicians call assault weapons, the black rifles, the assault rifle type looking things. So again, I don't want anybody going, they're not assault rifles. I get that. We're dealing with the mindset of bureaucrats and politicians, and we need to be set up to combat that. So that's where my money's going right now, into the things that I think will skirt the ban, or even if they don't, I can still buy them cheaply now. So if they skirt the ban, great. If they don't skirt the ban and the price comes up, I've been able to get what you aren't even looking at. So that's something that I would look at as a potential solution. But as I said in the previous segment, we've got to fight this. We've got to fight this all the way. You've got to burn the phone lines down to your representatives. You've got to tell them no compromises, no compromises, no compromises. They're probably still going to compromise. But the harder you push, the less they'll compromise. And again, I'm not saying we should, but you're going to hear common sense, reasonable. The biggest targets and the ones that they're most likely to be able to close, high-capacity magazines, because so many people that don't know anything will go, well, I don't see why you need more than 10 rounds, which really isn't the point. We all know that. And they will probably, this time, be able to close what they're going to call the gun show loophole. And that's a shame too, because they may go after all private firearms sales when they do that. Those two, I think, are the most likely, and I think the one they're going to get is the gun show loophole. And I know you're going to, it's not a loophole, it's just, I understand. Again, don't assign to me what these bureaucrats are thinking, but that can be sold to the sheep very easily. They'll show videos of guys going in and buying ARs off the back tables in a gun show and go, this can't happen. And I think they'll actually come up with some way to make the background check on firearms more strict. I think that can be sold. If you can sell it to the person that's not against guns but doesn't know about guns, that's what the compromise is likely to be. But it could be worse. We need to be prepared for that. If you can get a good deal on an AR right now, buy it. But don't mortgage your kid's college fund to go out and buy one just because you're afraid that they're going to take away the option. And remember, there are other options. With that, I'm going to pause the camera and go to the next caller. If you'd like to see the entire episode of today's show, go to thesurvivalpodcast.com, look up episode 1050, or it'll be in the video notes, and you can see it there.